Some of the biggest mysteries on Earth aren't buried underground. They're not hidden in the deep ocean. They're sitting right out in the open, in broad daylight, visible to anyone who walks past them or types their coordinates into Google Earth, and yet nobody can explain them. We're not talking about obscure ruins in some remote jungle. We're talking about massive structures, some of the largest things ever built by human hands, that have been studied for decades, sometimes centuries, and still don't have satisfying answers, where the engineering seems impossible for the era, where the purpose remains unknown, where the sheer scale defies every practical explanation offered. These aren't hidden, they're right in front of us, and that somehow makes it worse. Number 1. The Baalbek Megaliths, Lebanon. In the Bekaa Valley of eastern Lebanon sits one of the most baffling ancient construction sites on Earth. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek is a Roman ruin. Columns, courtyards, ceremonial platforms. Tourists visit every year. It's on UNESCO's World Heritage List. But the Romans didn't build the foundation it's sitting on, and that foundation is the real mystery. Beneath the Roman structures lies a platform of stone blocks so massive they make everything built on top look like a toy set. 3 blocks, known as the Trilithon, each weigh approximately 800 tons. They sit perfectly fitted together in a retaining wall 7 meters above the ground. Each block is roughly 19 meters long, 4 meters tall, and 3 meters deep. It gets worse. In a nearby quarry, archaeologists found an even larger stone, the stone of the pregnant woman, weighing an estimated 1,000 tons. Then, in 2014, a second megalith was discovered beneath it, estimated at 1,650 tons, the single largest hewn stone block ever found on Earth. Nobody knows who cut these stones. Nobody knows how they were transported from the quarry, a distance of roughly 900 meters. Nobody knows how they were lifted into position with such precision. Modern cranes capable of lifting 1,000 tons exist, but they are rare, specialized, and require extensive infrastructure. The Romans didn't claim credit for the platform, they simply built on top of it. Whoever created the Trilithon did so before Rome arrived, and potentially long before. The largest cut stones in human history, sitting in a tourist destination, and we still can't agree on who put them there or how. Number 2. The Nazca Lines, Peru. In the arid desert plains of southern Peru, across nearly 450 square kilometers, are hundreds of enormous figures etched into the ground. Straight lines running for kilometers without deviation. Geometric shapes, triangles, trapezoids, spirals. And the famous figures, a spider, a hummingbird, a monkey, a condor, some over 300 meters long. The Nazca Lines were created roughly between 500 BC and 500 AD by removing dark surface pebbles to expose the lighter ground beneath. Simple technique. But simplicity doesn't answer the real question. Why? The figures are only fully visible from high altitude. From the ground, you can't tell what you're looking at. The Nazca people had no aircraft, no elevated vantage point near the plains. They created massive artwork they themselves could never have seen as intended. The mainstream theory involves ritual or astronomical significance, possibly related to water sources or celestial alignments. Some researchers propose they functioned as a giant astronomical calendar. Others suggest ceremonial pathways walked during religious processions. But none of these explanations account for the precision. Some straight lines run over 10 kilometers without deviating by more than a few meters. The animal figures maintain perfect proportions at enormous scale. Creating them required sophisticated surveying and coordination, all for images the creators could never fully view. And new discoveries keep coming. In 2019 and 2020, researchers using AI and drone imaging identified over 140 previously unknown geoglyphs, including humanoid figures predating the famous lines by centuries. We've been staring at the Nazca Lines for decades. We still don't fully understand what they are, what they were for, or how they were made. Number 3. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt, the most famous structure on Earth, studied more than almost any other building in human history, and it still can't be fully explained. Built around 2560 BC for the pharaoh Khufu, the Great Pyramid stood as the tallest man-made structure on Earth for over 3,800 years. It contains an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks averaging 2.5 tons each, with some granite blocks weighing over 80 tons. The base is leveled to within 2.1 centimeters across a footprint of over 13 acres. The sides are aligned to true north with an accuracy of less than 1/15 of a degree. We know who built it, we know approximately when, but after centuries of study, we still don't know exactly how. No contemporary Egyptian text describes the construction method. Every ramp theory proposed has significant engineering problems at this scale. Moving 2.3 million blocks over roughly 20 years means placing one block every 2 to 3 minutes during working hours, every single day, for 2 decades. The logistics of quarrying, transporting, lifting, and placing stone at that rate remain actively debated. Then there are the internal chambers. In 2017, researchers using muon tomography, detecting density differences using cosmic ray particles, discovered a previously unknown void inside the pyramid, a massive empty space at least 30 meters long sitting above the Grand Gallery. Nobody knows what it is. Nobody has accessed it. It was hidden inside the most studied building on Earth for 4,500 years. The Great Pyramid isn't hidden, it's the opposite of hidden, and yet it still holds secrets we haven't cracked. Number 4. Pumapunku, Bolivia. High on the Bolivian Altiplano, at 3,800 meters elevation, sit the ruins of Pumapunku. Most ancient ruins look ancient, weathered, rough, organic. Pumapunku looks like it was cut by machines. The site contains massive blocks of andesite and diorite, some of the hardest stones on Earth, cut with genuinely baffling precision. Perfectly flat surfaces, razor-sharp edges, uniform right angles, complex interlocking shapes fitting together like puzzle pieces without mortar, perfectly round, evenly spaced drill holes. Some blocks weigh over 100 tons. The Tiwanaku civilization that built Pumapunku flourished between roughly 300 and 1000 AD. They had no iron tools, no steel, no deciphered writing system, no wheeled vehicles, and yet they produced stonework that modern masons say would be challenging to replicate even with diamond-tipped power tools. How did they cut diorite, rating 7 on the Mohs hardness scale, with stone or bronze tools? How did they transport 100-ton blocks to a site at nearly 4,000 meters elevation? How did they achieve tolerances so tight that a razor blade won't fit between the joints? The standard answer is patience, skill, and techniques we haven't rediscovered. That may be true, but the gap between the tools they supposedly had and the results they achieved is one of the widest in all of archaeology. Every engineer or stonemason who visits Pumapunku walks away shaking their head. Number 5. The Sajama Lines, Bolivia. Not far from Pumapunku sits a mystery that barely anyone talks about, possibly because the scale is almost too large to comprehend. The Sajama Lines are thousands of perfectly straight paths etched across the high desert surrounding Bolivia's Sajama volcano, covering roughly 22,500 square kilometers, about 15 times the size of the Nazca Lines, between 1 and 3 meters wide, carved with precision, relentlessly straight. Some run for 20 kilometers or more without deviating, crossing hills, valleys, rivers, and ravines while maintaining a perfectly straight trajectory regardless of terrain. There are an estimated 16,000 individual lines. Their combined length may reach tens of thousands of kilometers, potentially longer than the diameter of the Earth. Almost nothing is known about who created them or when. Believed to have been made over possibly 3,000 years, some researchers think they were sacred pathways connecting shrines and burial sites. Others suggest astronomical significance, but no explanation accounts for the sheer scale. 16,000 perfectly straight lines covering an area the size of a small country, maintained across generations. The Sajama Lines are visible on satellite imagery right now. You can look at them on Google Earth, the largest network of straight paths ever created by human hands, sitting in the open and almost completely unstudied. Number 6. The Plain of Jars, Laos. In the mountainous highlands of northeastern Laos, thousands of massive stone jars are scattered across plateaus and hillsides, carved from sandstone, granite, and limestone, some over 3 meters tall, some weighing up to 14 tons, spread across more than 100 sites covering hundreds of square kilometers. Nobody knows who made them. Nobody knows exactly when. Nobody can agree on what they were for. Tentatively dated to the Iron Age, roughly 500 BC to 500 AD, local legend says they were created by giants who used them as drinking vessels. The leading archaeological theory is funerary, used in burial rituals involving decomposition of human remains. Bones, lids, and burial goods have been found nearby, but many jars contain nothing at all, and their massive scale seems excessive for simple bone storage. There's also the manufacturing problem. Carving a 3-meter jar from a single granite block with Iron Age tools required extraordinary skill. Transporting 14-ton jars across mountainous terrain with no wheeled vehicles remains inadequately explained. Research has been severely limited for a brutal reason. The Plain of Jars lies in one of the most heavily bombed regions on Earth. During the Vietnam War era, the United States dropped over 2 million tons of ordnance on Laos. Vast areas remain contaminated with unexploded cluster munitions. Archaeologists must coordinate with bomb disposal teams before they can dig. Thousands of giant stone jars, sitting in open air, surrounded by unexploded bombs, and after decades of study, we still don't know who carved them, why, or how they moved them. 6 structures, all massive, all sitting in plain sight, all studied for years, sometimes centuries. None of them fully explained. Not the quarrying, not the transport, not the precision, not the purpose. We tell ourselves we understand the ancient world, but these 6 structures tell a different story. People who came before us were capable of things we still can't replicate, for reasons we still can't determine, using methods we still can't identify. And the most unsettling part? We walk right past them, every single day.